Welcome to This Is My Story. We're eating donuts.
Yay.
So we are drinking.
Peach coconut refresher from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, it is so good, by the way. We both got larges because it's just that bomb. And we got donuts. So we got glazed donuts and strawberry donuts. But yeah, so we're gonna just go right ahead. So you're a Christian, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what was your experience like with getting to know Jesus? Did you grow up in church? Like, what's your story?
So I grew up in church. I always went to church every Sunday. My great grandmother was like an evangelist at the church that she went to. So everybody I knew was at church, like all the time. He would go to multiple services, being there all day, tired, just in church. Okay, just. But I didn't really have a relationship. It was just like that's what you're supposed to do. Go to church. Like I would go here and there, but it wasn't every Sunday because I had a job at the mall, and the mall is open on Sundays, and we would work 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and so that would mean I would have to get up for church at like super early, go to the first service, and then leave to go to the mall. And I just wasn't doing that. I was just lazy, so I would just stay in the house and go to sleep and go to work.
Like a normal teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then around like 21 or so, I felt like I was missing something. I couldn't really tell you what I was missing, but I felt like I was missing something. It's probably because I always went to church. Like, I always was there. So one day I went to my mom's church one Sunday and I kept going and I eventually joined that church. And I've been going to church ever since.
So how did you meet Jesus for yourself though?
Once I joined that church, I started reading my Bible more. I started praying more. I just really just started in journaling more. Just to get closer to him and to figure out who God is for myself. Because before I would just go and be turned up Monday through Saturday and, live my best life. And then it was just like, but that's not really what a Christian is supposed to do. You're supposed to have like some kind of conviction or some kind of like your own revelation of what Jesus is. Right. And I was just out here living any old kind of way. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's transition a little bit. So when it comes to like womanhood, as being like a Christian woman, right? How would you describe like the most pivotal lessons that you learned in being like a Christian woman? Like, and you can talk about even just like from your experience with like being a woman, just coming into like being a teenager to being a woman. Like how did that? What were some of
the lessons that I learned?
Yeah, the lessons that you learned from that.
I think the biggest one is identity, like having my identity rooted in Christ. Because I think before, like, I had low self-esteem, kind of, and so I was just, like, doing stuff that didn't really make sense, or I was doing stuff that wasn't based off my own worth. I was just out here.
Can you give a little bit of an example?
Like, I would just be drinking, like, on Saturdays, knowing good and well I need to be drinking. One time I was hungover, and like I had never drank like that before, and I literally was just drunk. Like, like I had never drank like that before. My mom was like, "Are you okay? Like, why are you drinking like this?" Like, I don't even know what's going on. I was just drunk and hungover, and it just was like I just wasn't living up to. I just wasn't living up to my purpose and my like word. Like I was out here drinking, like. Yeah, or dating the wrong people. Like, I was just a mess.
Okay. What about dating the wrong people? Let's go into that a little bit. Like, what did that look like, and what was the aha moment where it was like, all right, this ain't it?
It was just going back to people that I knew I shouldn't be with, or dating people that didn't even align with my goals. Like, you don't have no job, bro. Like, how are you gonna be together and you don't have no job? I got a job. You don't have a job. Like, I'm just saying. Like, you don't have a job. I don't have a job. Or they want me to, like, bend my, like, convictions or bend what I believe, or they weren't going to church, or didn't even believe in God themselves. So it was like, what's the point of dating them? There's no fun.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned just within adulthood altogether? Like, especially since you now, like, rededicated your life to Christ, right? And you're now walking on this path with Him. What are some of the lessons that He's taught you?
I think the biggest thing is to step out of my comfort zone because I like my little bubble. I like my little square. And my therapist one time was like, "Yeah, you really enjoy that bubble, don't you?" I said, "It's beautiful here. Like, like it's beautiful. Like if you don't, like if you are a person that likes to be in your bubble, like you know what I'm talking about because it's like it's comfort there. You know everybody there. You have to do nothing new because they know you. But I had to step out of my comfort zone to do certain things, like my podcast, go to a new church. Like I didn't know anybody at the church that I go to now, so that was like out of my comfort zone. What else? Going to grad school and having those grad school experiences, because the school I went to is strictly online. So they had in-person experiences, so I had to like travel by myself for the first time. Like just stepping out of my comfort zone is probably the biggest thing.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I like my bubble. I like it there a lot.
So what do you feel like God has like spoken to you about like womanhood? You know, that's been like a big thing.
How would you define womanhood though? because I've been hearing a lot about I don't know if you're on Clubhouse, but there's been a lot of discussion about femininity and womanhood. Wow. Yes, I've been hearing a lot of people like femininity coaches and womanhood, and I'm like,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, like femininity and tapping into your femininity. Like I've been hearing it a lot like the past couple of months. I'm just like,
I'm sorry, I'm just like, yo,
yes, I've been like I've been hearing about like femininity and I don't know. I just was like trying to figure out like what does that even mean? Like femininity coaches. Like I only ask that because I've been hearing more about femininity, womanhood, and what that means to be like a woman. But specifically like in the last like 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, what does that even mean? Like, how are we tapping into our femininity? Like, aren't we already women? Like,
Well, okay. I do think there's a difference because my content kind of does like it teeter totters on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just in general, like, it kind of goes back to that concept of like when you're a little kid,
yeah,
and you just want to do cartwheels all over the place,
yeah,
but you don't realize that you have a dress on.
Oh yeah.
And your mom is like, "Girl, you got a dress on." Like, and it's just like, well, I'm just me.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, but you are you, but you have a dress on.
Yeah.
And there's a certain way that you should conduct yourself with a dress on. You know, like you have to kind of like refine yourself a little bit because now if you do that, everybody's gonna see.
Yeah. What you got?
Exactly.
You got.
And then that can expose you to harm, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that in general, I could probably go into femininity, but this is about you, so I'm just gonna keep it there. But I think as women, there are certain things that as women, we are daughters of Christ, right?
Yeah.
And so there are certain things that He begins to teach us as daughters.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes they can be lessons that and I'm pretty sure if you think like there are lessons that He's taught you. What are some of the monumental lessons that you've learned as a daughter of Christ?
I think one that's probably sticking out to me like right now in my head is the importance of taking care of yourself.
Okay.
I feel like, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I feel like taking care of yourself wasn't really talked about. But they would talk about like, going to the doctor, but not really like watching what you eat or, taking care of your skin. Like it wasn't like as big back then. I can't really remember. But taking care of yourself is important, and I think I learned that a lot after I was in the hospital in 2019. And I really had to learn how to take better care of myself because if not, I don't know what I was going to do. But I think that's important. And
Yeah.
resting and listening to your body, because I'm used to like going and doing stuff and out here, this place, there, and being in the hospital and being down for that period of time taught me about rest. Taught me about rest and really just resting in the fact that that's what I need to be doing. Like sometimes God will give you signs like, maybe you need to rest, sis. And I was kind of like not ignoring those signs, but I was still going at full speed ahead, like all the time.
Wow, I think that those things really need to be discussed.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to your health as
Yeah.
a woman, just as an individual altogether.
Just in general.
Yeah.
I think people need to like go to the doctor, like see what's wrong. If you have a pain, you need to go to the doctor, because sometimes the pain could be an underlying issue.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Man. Well, one last question before we go. And I just wanted to touch on, you are a therapist,
Yes.
right? And what has that been like for you, especially as a Christian, with what you do? How have you heard God speaking to you in what you do, and how does that like link with your faith?
So being a therapist has taught me a lot about people and people's behaviors. I feel like sometimes God does talk to me in sessions, because sometimes I'll leave a session and I don't remember nothing. Like, I remember nothing that I said. I have kids that tell me, they'll be like, Miss Lauren, you said that last week. I said, I did. I said that. What I say? Because I don't know. Tell me what I said. Or they'll like bring back like, oh, Miss Lauren, yeah, we did this, and I tried it when I got upset. And I'm like, we did that in a session together? I do not remember. I don't remember doing it. But sometimes I think he does speak to me that way. But it also has shown me like a lot of things are generational. That some things happen like because it's generational, and no one has taken the stance to say, hey, this ends with me. It just keeps going in like the next generation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's heavy. I love that.
Yeah, well, I had someone tell me before, like, we were talking about something, and like the person had anxiety, for example, and they were like, yeah, well, when I was a kid too, the parent, like, I had anxiety as well, and like now the kid has anxiety because no one really like said, hey, let's stop this somehow, or let me figure out how to manage my own anxiety, or whatever the issue may be. It just kept going.
Yeah.
Or even how we like communicate. Like some people, they're not good communicators, and like the kid, like kids are big sponges, and so they model everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like if a parent curses a lot, I'll be like, well, your kid is cursing because you curse a lot. Like, you're not the best communicator, so your kid is just going to do what you do. Like, I was in a training a few weeks ago, and she said,
do as I say, not as I do.
Yes, she did that. So she did an example of like, touch your nose, but she was touching something else, and we all touched our chin. She was touching her chin, but she was like, touch your nose. But we all, mostly everybody touched their chin, and that happens in life. Like, we do what we see other people do. So, yeah.
Wow, that is really good. Man. Well, I think that that's a really good spot to end on. And then we can have a part 2 on your podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your podcast a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I have a podcast, the Mentally Whole Podcast, where we talk about faith, mental health, and personal development. It comes out every Wednesday. It's on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Check it out. Yeah.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure to have you.
This was so great. You gotta do a part 2.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, but it was an amazing experience to have you on.
It was.
Right? And you can catch us on the podcast for part 2. Yay. So until next time, see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Love ya.